In the glittering opulence of the Waldorf Astoria, a 78-year-old billionaire suddenly broke down in tears as a lullaby drifted up from the street below. The same song she used to softly sing to the child stolen from her 30 years ago. The chandeliers at the Waldorf Astoria rained down crystal light, turning the grand ballroom into a sea of molten gold. Champagne flutes clinked like wind chimes, and the booming laughter of the ultra-wealthy rose like a rehearsed choir. The air was thick, almost sliceable, with the scent of truffle top-shelf wine and French perfume. Silk, satin, and diamonds shimmered across the marble floor, flawless to the point of suffocating. Evelyn Harrington stood at the edge of it all, apart from the glamour. At 78, her posture remained regal. Her silver hair swept up in an elegant twist, but her eyes, gray-blue like a stormy sea, gazed through the crowd in silence. She inhaled deeply, but even among all the luxury she caught something else, something raw. A scent of damp smoke and asphalt drifted in through the crack beneath the balcony doors. She pushed open the heavy glass. The opulent noise behind her faded. In its place, car engines, honking horns, the razor chill of a New York night. And then, a voice. Not the aria from the hired string quartet. This was something rougher, more real. A lullaby rising from the street below. A male voice, raspy, trembling alive, sang against the backdrop of offbeat saxophones and the distant rhythm of street drums. Evelyn froze. Her heart raced, breath caught, as if the air had vanished. That melody. For countless nights 30 years ago, she had whispered it, fragile and broken, into the ear of a newborn. She remembered the scent of milk, the velvet skin, and then the nurse's arms ripping her away, the cry swallowed by the sterile silence of the maternity ward. She whispered, voice cracking, "That's my lullaby," the one I sang to her. A single tear slid down her perfectly powdered cheek, smudging the image of the queen of finance the world adored. The music played on. A battered guitar plucked out each note. Evelyn strained her eyes downward. Amid the crowd, a young man sat on a chipped wooden stool jacket, threadbare, tousled brown hair, calloused fingers clutching the neck of his guitar. But it was his eyes that nearly brought her to her knees, gray-blue, just like the ones she faced in her mirror every morning. A wave of vertigo. Her late husband's face, boardroom wars, glass towers, all of it vanished. Only the lullaby remained, stretching across two worlds, velvet carpets and concrete streets. In her clutch bag, her fingers closed tightly around a familiar object, a small silver music box. The lid was engraved with that lullaby's lyrics in her own handwriting, the cold metal bit into her trembling palm. Down below, the boy finished his song and looked up. The streetlight caught his face, revealing a detail that stole her breath, a faint crescent-shaped scar on his left wrist. The exact scar the nurse had once whispered about, the one from a newborn's injection. The storm inside her shattered the mask she'd worn for decades. "Impossible," she whispered, her voice tangled in the wind. Then a soft sound behind her, the balcony door creaked open. A frail silhouette appeared. Nurse Margaret Doyle, now elderly, leaning on a cane, an unexpected guest at the gala. Her clouded eyes looked down at the street, then back to Evelyn. Her voice trembled. "I told them never to sing it. 30 years ago, I saw them take her." Evelyn spun around, her heart pounding like a war drum. The camera cuts down the street musician clutching his guitar, his gray-blue eyes reflecting Evelyn's. Cliffhanger. That gaze shattered the entire Waldorf Astoria. The string ensemble in the crystal ballroom shifts from a refined waltz into a slow classical melody. Violin notes like silver threads slice through the air. Crystal lights cascade onto linen-draped tables, reflecting off delicate glassware so thin that even the gentlest touch elicits a soft, plaintive echo. Warm whiffs of truffle nutty brown butter and burgundy mingle with the faint, powdery scent on aristocratic collars. All of it, that dazzling sheen, settles into a cold hush, the kind that lingers only in rooms all too familiar with power. Harrington. That name reverberates from the high gilded ceilings like an ancient vow. Their real estate empire, midtown steel and glass towers to seaside resorts in Florida, lays thick, bold traces across the city's maps. Black and white portraits line the walls, firm handshakes with mayors, staged smiles with governors, and one lonely photo of a president framed in an unreadable grin, eyes locked on nothing. The Harrington legacy is built on numbers and windowless boardrooms, places where decisions weigh as lightly as breath, yet strike as hard as wrecking balls. Evelyn Harrington passes these portraits like they're tombstones. Her satin shoes click against marble steady but breath-thin. The air heavy with fragrance seems foreign to her lungs. Under the tight sequin black dress, a rib throbs with pain. She knows rooms like this by memory, could walk in blindfolded and find her place. But she hasn't felt at home here in years. "Can I get you anything else, Mrs. Harrington?" The server's voice is low. The silver tray in his hand mirrors the lines on her face, riveted like rivers on dry earth. No, Evelyn replies, her voice husky. She hasn't had whiskey since he died. It warmed his throat at night. She lives on black tea, the only thing whose flavor hasn't changed. Across the room, Charles Harrington laughs with a senator. He wears a charcoal suit, deep blue satin tie, and a tiny Harrington Foundation lapel pin. His words plant delicate seeds, just a whisper, and one day his conversational partners discover they're thinking things they never thought. Evelyn glimpses Charles from one half of the room. He sees her too. No greeting needed. She turns away. Her right hand, always gloved at galas, hovers over her purse. Inside is the silver music box, cold, heavy, honed by time. Her thumb traces faint scratches, markers of countless openings and closings and the edge of a line that's faded. She presses her thumb against the familiar spot. A whisper of springiness responds a single note like a mournful sigh. She slips behind the velvet curtains into a seldom-used corridor. Wall sconces cast golden halos over polished wood, and the faint aroma of beeswax varnish hangs in the air like an old library you think you've forgotten. She leans against a window ledge, gazing down at the avenue below. Car lights blur into streaks. In her mind, the lullaby still plays, pressed against memories in the walls. "You're thinking of the past again," Charles's silken voice. He's there, silent as a shadow that's always been waiting. "Do you ever stop thinking about buildings settling?" she asks, not facing him. "Or just next quarter's earnings?" Charles smiles without making a sound. "The past weakens people, Evie. You know that. Tonight is a fundraiser for cardiology. Don't let emotions derail you." "Some things aren't emotions," she says, eyes glued to the silvered highway below. "Some things are truth. And some are stories," Charles says, eyeing the musical box in her hand. "Put it away. The world isn't kind to women's stories." A faint note hums from the box inside her bag as if protest. Evelyn clicks the lid shut to suppress the discord. "You should be careful, Charles," she says. "Some stories, even if buried, know the way back home." He leans in. Breath smells of mint and whiskey. "Don't stir it up. We've crossed to the other side of the river. You've got it all, the name, the power, the respect." "What about the child?" Evelyn asks, flat as the passing headlights. Charles's eyes don't blink. He meets her gaze long enough for the light to streak across his pupils. "There was no child," he says, each word clipped like glass. A chill snakes down her spine. She remembers clearly the stormy night, the antiseptic scent of the maternity ward, the warm, fragile skin in her arms, and most undeniably the tiny crescent-shaped scar on the inside of her infant's wrist. The nurse had called it the first injection a little moon. She'd pressed her lips to it, a silent vow. That scar is the one unalterable detail. Her gloved hand tightens around the music box. In her mind, she flicks to that memory, tiny crescent formed on that delicate wrist. With a shudder flash, she sees the same shape on the musician outside the young man whose street song reached her balconies. Nightlight swept across his wrist, a delicate arc like a crescent moon. Air stops in her lungs. Evelyn. Charles has stopped smiling. His voice is stripped. "Tomorrow morning you have a meeting with the minister. Tonight you smile, shake hands, and go home." Go home. The words taste salty on her tongue. Who's home? He's silent. The silence of someone used to winning. In the mirrored panel, she sees herself, a thin figure, straight as a candle burnt down to its stub veins visible, the wrist's pulse thinned. Between velvet and silver, she's an odd bone out of place in the perfect statue. and she realizes suddenly why she felt suffocated in the ballroom. It smells like something frozen in a freezer too long. Preserved form, but no life. She walks through the corridor back into the ballroom. Conversations fracture into Shard's West Side expansion. Court ruling, lobbying costs. A friend, a blonde woman with piled hair, clasps her hand. "You look exhausted, Evie. Paris with me next week. I'll be busy next week." Evelyn smiles, but only the lips, busy listening to a lullaby. Her friend laughs, puzzled, and lets go. The room cools her skin gooseflesh under satin, a fine salt-like film of sweat drying along her spine. Passing the registration table, she notices the guest list, Harrington Foundation Annual Benefactors Gala. Beneath platinum, gold, and silver levels in tiny embossed letters under special guests, Margaret Doyle, RN Rett. A misprint in spacing blends the line into the background. A caduceus brooch glints across the room on a gray-haired woman bent and trembling with a drink standing alone like a footnote misplaced on a title page. Her hand sweats. The box feels heavier. She needs clarity. A quiet room, a dim corner to cradle it and breathe. But the guitar's memory rattles at the edge of her mind. A bright-faced PR assistant glides over. "Mrs. Harrington, the press want 2 sentences about the Heart Fund." "Perfect lighting." "No." She shakes her head. "But no." The assistant's mascaraed surprise blinks at her. In Charles's world, no simply doesn't exist, only adjust and reschedule. Charles appears behind her. "I told you Evie's tired now." In a low whisper, "Let's go." "You go ahead," she says, meeting his eyes. "I have to go home." "Your home is on the 73rd floor. His tone is cold. "The penthouse you chose every marble slab." "No." This time her voice cuts sharper than steel. "My home is down there." A silent wind sweeps her hair. She steps away from the lighting across the revolving door into the grand black marble foyer. Her footsteps echo hollow. Night air sweeps in engine fumes, burnt hot dog bun iron dust. They clear her lungs and lighten her chest. The driver's done the loop. A car waits and opens its door. The leather interior gleams, bathed in street lamp light. She doesn't climb in. She stands on the marble steps, staring back toward the corner where the music had come. The crowd is thinning. The hush after a song before the slow clap hangs there. Mrs. Harrington calls the hotel manager, polite urgency. She doesn't turn. In her mind, one detail flares the crescent scar. A physical truth, seen once, unforgeable. It's as vivid as pressing her lips to it again, feeling that warm skin, the milky scent, that hush of breathing that is all baby and solace. Her body hums like a plucked string. Evelyn Charles is right behind, her voice cold, practical. "Don't embarrass yourself." She tilts her head, eyes locked on the street. "Embarrassment, is that what you call truth?" He remains silent. Then a faint click comes from her purse. The music box's spring nudged by a key. A metallic whisper, but enough she fixates entirely on the box. She slides her hand in and pulls it out. Silver greets the night air, cold as dawn. Streetlight picks out the engraving, "Sleep, Little Sea." Her lips press together against the metallic scent. Inside the lid, a curious curve, a short crescented scratch masked under the gray patina. By mechanical memory, her finger searches that curve, presses down. A soft snap. The spring stirs, as gentle as a fish changing direction. Evie Charles whispers, breath jagged now, "Don't." Instead of opening it fully, Evelyn closes it. Not here. Not now. She holds it close to her chest like a weight recalibrating the city tower. A breeze grazes her dress, carrying a plaintive saxophone from a nearby corner, rusty and intimate, like an old voice whispering, "Go." She turns, ignoring Charles. "Take me to the penthouse," she tells the driver, voice calm. "And don't call anyone." He watches the car slide away, tail lights swallowed by traffic. He stands there with his oversized shadow cast on stone and the brewing dark on Harrington Tower's upper floors. On the ride back, the city drifts by like a silent film behind thick glass. Evelyn sets the music box on her lap. Her fingers beat time with the road's rhythm. The scent of leather, a hint of lavender from her own handkerchief, and beneath it all, that cool metallic smell of aged silver in twine. She imagines another snap, a tiny yellowed photo. a slanted hand script that once held love. Breath finds a steady pace, counting out invisible conductors. The penthouse door opens with a faint beep. The housekeeper had already gone to bed. Warm lights ignite the darkness inside mirrored hardwood floors. Persian rug soft underfoot, an electric hearth flickering amber. She places her bag on the glass desk and removes her lace gloves. Veins trace like pale riverbeds on her hands, her pulse steady quiet. The music box rests on the Louis XVI vanity table next to an abandoned goblet of red wine whose thin lipstick ring she doesn't remember pouring. A lone lamp casts a solitary halo of light. On the wall hang their wedding photo, him before their first skyscraper dawn at Long Island. Not a single child in any frame. The room is full and empty from that absence. Evelyn breathes in. Powder at the vanity reminds her of talc in the hospital years ago. The smell plus milk and that warm breath of a tiny life inked into her skin forever. She sits in a velvet chair and pulls out a magnifier, old habit of someone safeguarding small secrets. Her finger finds the scratch again, resting at the same curve. Breathing slows and then stops as she presses. A louder click. The lid lifts by 0.5 millimeter metal edge, pulling free. Beneath it is whatever's been waiting 30 years. Outside, the city's night face heroes' windows in 1,000 pinpoints. Far off, the lullaby drifts again. Or perhaps memory begins to play it. She places her fingertip on the rim, prepared. The camera draws in tight on the engraving as it shimmers, "Sleep, Little Sea." Night descends on Lexington like damp velvet. Neon lights weep onto the rain-soaked pavement, brake lamp streaks, trailing like threads gently pulled. The scent of engine oil, cigarette smoke, fried onions from a hot dog cart mingles with the cold sharpness of wet metal against skin. A manhole cover releases steam, wrapping her face in a humid, salty warmth. From a street corner, a guitar plays raw, earthy, but resonant. A lullaby spun from simple chords. Bass notes plucked tenderly like stroking a sleeping child's hair. Each note lands on the asphalt like a raindrop finding its crevice. Evelyn stands beneath the narrow stoop of a closed shop, her black gown dotted with raindrops, sequins flickering emerald beside neon reflections. Her hand clenches the silver music box in her glove skin, whispering against metal. Breath escapes in brittle clouds. The wind slashes down her spine like a cold blade. The young man sits on a wooden chair, worn jacket slipping from his shoulder. Brown hair tucks behind his ear. Beside him lies his open guitar case with crumpled bills and coins sounding like raindrops. His left hand cradles the neck. The right plucks strings, calloused, short-nailed, knuckled. The smell of damp wood, hot metal strings, wet asphalt, a living world against the ethereal aroma of upstairs banquets. She steps into the glow, her satin shoes skimming a puddle that mirrors her face, blurred like a fading memory. "Where did you learn that song?" she asks in a rasp that joins the rain's gentle abrasion. He lifts his head, gray-blue eyes, not gem-like but stormy sea blue. Streetlight grazes his pupils with a thin halo. He tilts his head, listening to a question carried off by wind. "My mother taught it. He has a New York cadence flavored by the East. She sang it every night, before..." Her memory faded. He strums 2 soft notes, then pauses. Only rain taps the corrugated roof. Evelyn swallows. Metallic chill kisses her teeth like the music box's silver dissolving in her mouth. "Your name?" she asks. "Daniel," he replies, almost habitually adding Daniel Cole. He gestures to the guitar case I play here a few nights a week. "My mother needs medication. Hospitals don't swap bills for melodies." A gust sweeps damp paper and wool into the air. Evelyn pulls her scarf tighter. Silk threads whistle against cheekbones, damp. She touches her bag, icy metal transmitting into her fingertips. A small door in her chest whispers open. "Will you sell it?" she finally asks, and realizes how crass it sounds. A wealthy woman in the rain buying a poor man's lullaby. Daniel studies her silence, stretching before he answers with a dry laugh. "Sell what?" "A melody." He squints, plays 1 note, then stops. "No, I'm serious." Evelyn unzips her purse. The zipper sounds crisp. a stack of fresh bills, the scent of new paper cutting through the rain. She offers them with a trembling hand. 1,000 for you to stop playing it, or give it to me. His face tightens, but not at the money. Instead, his gaze stays on the slender veins at the wrist peeking from her glove. You could buy this whole block, he says quietly, but not that. Why not, she asks, knowing the answer in the tremor of her voice. It's all I have from my mother, Daniel says, fingering his guitar neck until his knuckles pop like raindrops on metal. Everything else is bills and cheap things. But this is what's left when everything else falls away. A taxi horn blares and fades. Evelyn stares at raindrops clinging to his chin, caught in an indentation at his throat. Her heart thuds in her ears, thud, 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 shortening, quickening. She plunges her hand deeper into her purse silk against lace, pulling out that silver music box. Neon reflects off its patina-worn surface, flickering over the engraved words in her hand. She places the box atop his guitar. Metal strikes wood with a dull thok. She presses at the familiar scratch. The mechanism clicks. A tiny spring stirs teeth click into place. The lullaby pours out pure and bright metallic notes, sprinkling through the rain. Daniel's pupils widen as though stretching to drink in the sound. He leans forward, absorbing it like breath. How do you have this? He murmurs. Evelyn says nothing, only looks at him. Her gaze equal parts imploring and punishing. Lips parted, but all sound drowned in the music from the tiny orchestra box. Daniel lifts the box, tilting it to peer inside. His sleeve slides up. There it is, unmistakable. A slender crescent scar on his left inner wrist, pale and faint as pencil shading under sodium light. She holds her breath, shock frozen in that arc, every atom still. You hurt yourself, she asks, not knowing how else to break the hush. No. Daniel lowers his sleeve, reflexive. It's old. My mother called it a moon mark. A brief, sad smile flickers. Babies. They said it came from a tiny poke after birth. Damp air seeps into her collar. She shivers. Palms ignite. Evelyn closes the box. The music dies as suddenly as the thread of sound. I want to buy the song, she says, voice dry and businesslike. 50,000 for it to be mine. For you to stop playing it. Daniel studies the bills but looks past them at her wrists now pressed together. You might own buildings, even this street, he says, softly choosing his words. You could hire people to teach me manners. He pauses, eyes narrowing. But you can't buy the lullaby that helped a mother live 10 more years. She clenches the cash so hard the edges flare. You're not the only one who's lost something. She didn't intend to say it. It fell raw. You're not the only one with sleepless nights. He stares, eyes colder and distant, like reflective office towers at night. His breath puffs white in the streetlight. No, he whispers. But I'm the one with a mother. He pauses as though that finality resonates in the rain. Still, a bus tire squeals over the rain-slicked crosswalk. In the ambient roar, she catches something else, the flip of a thin page. Under those raindrops, a memory slides smooth between skin layers. Your mother. She starts legs weak. Evelyn steadies herself by pressing the box to her sternum. Your mother. What was her name? The next morning, New York wakes to the screech of garbage trucks on wet curbs and delivery trucks' horns. Fractured sunlight streams through window bars, laying thin, golden streaks across worn wooden floors. In the cramped third-floor apartment, the strong scent of coffee mingles with disinfectant from a first aid kit beside the bed, woven through the dust of old curtains. Daniel pours water into the tiny watering can for the herb pots on the sill. Then he gently lifts his mother, arranging her pillows. Her breaths are short and steady. Each cough carries a faint bitterness of medicine. I'll be home soon, he whispers, stepping so softly the bed doesn't creak. She curls her fingers around his hand, fragile as paper. I sang your song last night, he adds softly, pressing her hand to his cheek so she can feel his warmth before he goes. The hallway smells of freshly lime-washed walls mingled with old paint and an ever-present dampness that clings to coatbacks. Each wooden stair groans underfoot, and the sharp click-click of a neighbor's heels descending resonates. When he opens the door to the street, the smell of roasted pretzels and vehicular exhaust hits him clearer than coffee. On his usual street corner, people await. Two men in black jackets marked with a subtle silver insignia hold a temporary sign, "No performance, event permit required." A sharply dressed man in a black suit and charcoal tie with mirror-shine shoes hangs up his phone as Daniel approaches, smiling without reaching his eyes. "Mr. Cole," he says as statement, not question. "Stop associating with Mrs. Harrington." A sudden gust rattles the sign's edge, dislodging a piece of tape that clings to Daniel's shoe. He stares at the man, listening for a threat or warning. "I don't know who you are," Daniel replies. And she was only listening. "You know enough." The man's smirk stays fixed, while his gaze drops to the guitar case in Daniel's arms. "This corner is no longer yours, nor will any day that follows. Your stage, to use your phrase, is being cleared out." Slowly, Daniel sets down his guitar, securing the latch. "I have a busking permit under city law. Your permit can be rescinded." The man interrupts his breath, carrying mint and last night's expensive liquor. "Just like your lease. Your barista job application last week. We're all good citizens, law-abiding, right?" A taxi brakes sharply behind him, the smell of burnt rubber snapping behind Daniel's spine. He shrinks into himself, pressing inward. "Why?" he asks. "Because I sing a song." The man tilts his head. "Because of a mistake." He retrieves a thick white card embossed with the name Crawford & Ames, LLP. "If you need legal counsel, we can supply it, but right now..." He flicks his chin toward the direction he wants Daniel to leave. "Move along." By midday, Daniel returns home. He's holding a thick, cream-colored envelope stamped with a watermark. His name is neatly embossed. Inside, a cease and desist letter. The serif black lettering stings the nose with fresh ink, the kind found in printer rooms, cushioned with empty expense accounts. The opening lines accuse him of spreading defamatory and injurious falsehoods, impacting the Harrington family. Defamation. Tortious interference, the words lined up like sharks above the water. He reads to the signature Crawford & Ames, LLP on behalf of Mr. Charles Harrington. His palms sweat. The envelope sticks briefly, then slips off the table. He places it next to the watering jug and his mother's pillbox. The scent of lemon dish soap lingers on a stainless steel spoon. A cheap paper calendar on the wall flaps in a quiet breeze and flips to a new page with a soft thwip. The phone rings. Private number. Reluctant, he answers. "Mr. Cole." A female voice, controlled and measured. "I'm calling from the building management office about next month's lease. Oddly enough, the landlord's requesting renovations to the plumbing and will need you to vacate within 30 days. But we can help you find another place." "Where?" "Where do you want me to go?" Daniel asks, glancing around the kitchen. Crockery chipped but meaningful. His childhood photo with a wide-eyed grin and missing tooth. "My mother. She can't move far." "We understand," she says kindly, "but rules are rules." He hangs up and presses his forehead to the fridge's cold painted surface. The cool paint clings to his skin. A draft seeps under the door, smelling of fried onions from downstairs. The wall clock's ticks echo like gunshots in the silence. Daniel opens the casewood and metallic cord flood back in familiar, as if opening his chest for oxygen. Meanwhile, up in Harrington Tower on the 75th floor, sleek glass walls draw daylight like chilled liquor. In the boardroom, the plush carpet kills footsteps instantly. Charles sits at the head of the table, hands resting on a stack of papers, his nails polished without imperfection. The Crawford & Ames lawyer advances a slide deck timeline risks options. The room smells of leather chairs, oak table lilies freshly cut blended with printer toner. "Which way do you want us to proceed?" the thin-lensed lawyer asks, anticipating the answer. "Shut it down," Charles replies, not glancing at the slides. "Shut everything down. I don't want to hear that name again." The internal PR advisor breaks in, pen clicking against a leather notebook. "We may need a shaping narrative, something official, to guide public perception." Charles turns to the window where his figure dissolves among other tower silhouettes. "The public," he murmurs. "They only remember headlines. Let me write the headline. An assistant taps politely at the door, 3 beats offering a dossier. Photographs of Daniel at the corner printed on fine stock, the printer's varnish faint. One image clearly shows his sleeve drawn up, revealing the meager crescent-shaped scar. Charles examines it longer than socially necessary. A crease of memory seems to flick beneath his eyelids. Maybe we should talk to the witness, the lawyer suggests, unsure. Charles places the photo face down. They must see. Silence is safety, he says. The elderly have a tendency to reminisce. The heady aroma of lilies sharpens in his nostrils. That afternoon, Daniel returns to the corner. The no performance sign stands firm. A yoga class flyer torn at the base hangs limply beside it. He places down his guitar, but hasn't strummed a note when a man in a black windbreaker steps in front. "Sir, move along," the man says. "I was just—" "Move." A luxury watch gleams at his wrist, an exception among his uniform clothing. "Don't make us call other people." "Call who?" Daniel says, though he knows the answer. He folds the guitar shut, the rim digging into his palm. Pain flickers through his hand. He steps away, the rubber soles scratching across pavement like someone erasing an unwelcome line. At the end of the block, his phone buzzes again. Unknown number. Mr. Cole. "I'm with Crawford and Ames. We'd like to offer a friendly solution. Financial support, in exchange for your cooperation. No statements, no Mrs. Harrington visits." "How much?" Daniel asks, voice flat. He watches a bus idling its air conditioning, sneezing cheap cold air. "Enough," comes the reply, soft like a pinch of salt. "Enough so you don't stand on that corner. Enough so your mother can have a decent hospital bed. Enough so you can finish that street music. And live quietly," Daniel adds, finishing the sentence. "Silence is a good currency," the voice agrees. "Trust me." "No," Daniel says and hangs up. Sweat cools on his t-shirt under a gust. His back prickles. A hot dog vendor cracks open and wafts of meat mustard fried onions surge his stomach, betrays him with a rumble. Later that evening, Evelyn sits in the penthouse kitchen where silence is so absolute she hears the air conditioner switch modes. The scent of marble cleaner is antiseptic to memory. She places the music box on the center of the table like laying bare her heart in glass. The phone lights up private number. She lets it ring till it fades, then rings again. She lets that fade too. Silence returns. He walks in without knocking. The cologne arrives before him, a natural claim to the scent. "What a reckless thing you did," he says without hello. "I had to break your fall." Evelyn looks at him. "By silencing a young man, by protecting what we have," Charles replies. "What your husband refined, what my father built. Don't let a nobody bring it down with a cheap melody." "Cheap," she scoffs. "Do you know the true cost of a lullaby?" "Its cost," he says, placing his hand on the music box, "is silence." The silver surface reflects his polished nail art. "Lock it up, return it to the closet, don't let it see the street again." Evelyn gently pushes his hand away. "If you fear music so much, then what you're afraid of isn't notes." He pivots sleek as a yacht's turn. "A witness," he says. "That nurse. I hope she knows better, like stories should stay buried." "Stories buried." Evelyn inhales. "You contacted her?" "I contact everything," he sighs. "It's what I do." Evelyn feels clocks spinning in her skull. She rises. Her chair whispers over rug. "Get out of my house," she says, softer than she expected, but irreparable in tone. Charles eyes her for a long beat, then offers a regretful half-smile. "Tomorrow," he says, 9 o'clock conference room. Please don't force me to come again." He leaves. The door closes soft, his cologne residue a spectral stain. Evelyn exhales long. She releases the music box's latch click, a sharper sound than expected, and the lullaby flows. She presses her ear to it as though it might whisper back something from somebody very far away. She hears hospital shoes, the pop of a syringe cap, and closes her eyes. At a Queens nursing home, time drips slow. The smell of disinfectant talc, watery vegetable soup, and rain slipping into corridors. Margaret Doyle sits in the communal lounge. The TV broadcasts forced smiles. On her woolen cardigan, a caduceus pin dull from age. Her fingers trace it like rosary beads. Her breath rattles. An inhaler sits beside her, its plastic case tapping out a patient rhythm. A woman in a gray blazer approaches, scented lightly folder in hand. "Mrs. Doyle," she says softly. "I'm from the Harrington Foundation charity. We have a small grant to offer you." She places a thick white envelope on the table money, pristine and smooth, bright white. It hits Margaret's eyes like a flash. Margaret looks at it, her delicate knuckled fingers hovering. "What's the trade?" she rasps. "Just don't meet unwanted people." Rest the visitor smiles. "You need peace." Peace. Margaret repeats like tasting a word that has aged bitter. She glances at the caduceus. She sees herself in her 20s, delirious under hospital lights, shoes whispering on sterile floors. "Silence took so much," she says quietly. The woman tilts her head. "I don't understand." "You don't need to." Margaret pushes the envelope away as softly as laying down a fallen leaf. "Take it. I've been quiet long enough." The woman's expression dims briefly, then warms. "As you wish." She stands, grabs the envelope. She looks back for a moment, measuring Margaret. The swing door closes. The floral scent dies. Margaret opens a drawer, retrieves a thin cloth bag. Inside, a yellowed shift change slip, crumpled corner, curled, handwritten, NICU. Night shift. Infant, F12 with a fragile crescent moon doodled in the corner, the token she drew years ago to remember the baby with the moon mark. She folds it near her chest, breathing uneven as though memory is weight. The second hand on the clock jumps past 12 and she feels herself fall into another time. She rises, trembling to find a phone. "I need to talk to Mrs. Harrington." The nurse on duty hears her quaver. "I must speak." Nightfall again. Daniel tries another corner outside a grocery store, lit warmly, the smell of ripe fruit tangled with damp cardboard. He opens his guitar. Before he can play, a black unmarked taxi yanks to a stop. The suited man from earlier steps out, hair immaculate as ever. "You are wasting our time," the man says, voice calm enough to bruise. "And your mother's." "Don't say my mother." Daniel's voice snaps, pulse throbbing. "You don't get to put that word on your tongue." The man shrugs. A silver cufflink engraved with H glints. "Currency is bought," he says, "and sold." He raises his hand close enough that the cologne scents Daniel's face, hand over the guitar. "No." Daniel hugs it close. Its warmth paints his chest. Old glue scent flares under pressure. The man studies him, then chuckles a single click as if switching on a faded lamp. "No need for violence," he says, pulling from his inside pocket another weighty cream envelope. "Here's your agreement, a sum in exchange for your silence." He places it atop the adjacent trash bin. Trash knows bad decisions best. Daniel regards the envelope as if it's an alien. The bin's stainless steel scent mixes with trash, a bile spike in his gut. He doesn't touch it. "Go," he says, voice low. "Before." "Before what?" The man steps back, his back still forward-facing. "You gonna sing louder?" The taxi door clicks shut with a soft thud. Water-laced tires spray onto Daniel's pant leg. He collapses onto a stooped guitar pressed to his side. His hands tremble. He doesn't play. He closes the case, cradling it as if it's a feversome child. His breathing stutters short, long, short again. Footsteps pass. A dog barks, a grandmother's bottle cart rattles an ignored soundtrack in city quiet. His phone rings again. Unknown. He answers. "Daniel." A shaky older voice. "It's Margaret, the nurse. You met me last night." He jumps to his feet. A cushion knocks the guitar case with sharp pain. "Yes. Are you all right?" "I must say, before they come." She breathes ragged, raspy, like a tiny clarinet in sob. "Don't accept money. Don't sign anything. And don't let them take the box." "You know about the box," he says softly, voice echoing down the street's hidden corners. "I know the song." She says the words slowly, each landing heavy. "And I know the moon mark." A beat passes each word, thudding. "I saw it on a child's wrist." A man with a newspaper strolls by, staring at Daniel as if conversing with memories no one else sees. Daniel grips the guitar case tighter. The wood hums under the pressure. "Where are you?" he asks. The nursing home, she breathes. Come at once, before they get there first. The line disconnects, tones stretching like rubber band gun echoing through his chest. He stares up at a black patch of sky between buildings sprinkled with diluted stars under sodium glow. He lifts the guitar and runs. Inside the nursing home corridor, neon strips dull a person's skin into a spectral shade. The antiseptic smell coats his hair, his clothes, his throat. A young nurse glances up, brow furrowing at his drenched frame. Room 214, she says. Daniel Hastens steps heavy against vinyl. He stops outside a half-open door. The room is empty. A folding bed is folded away, the white sheet smooth as a fresh page. A glass of water stands on a small table, condensation tracing a ghostly circle. A scrap of paper lies on the floor. He picks it up, the yellowed shift change slip saying, NICU, night shift. Infant F12, with that tender crescent in the corner. The paper smells of old ink, and a faint sweat salty as dried tears. Behind him, footsteps. He spins. Two men in dark coats fill the doorway. Visiting who, one asks. Voice detached like elevator speaker tone. Mrs. Doyle. Daniel says, his grip on the paper sharp as broken glass. She's been transferred. The man says, unblinking. You don't need to know where. Daniel pulls the case tighter, shifting his weight back. Who asked them? Regulations the man offers, curving into an authoritative smirk. The cheap cologne tangles with antiseptic, the smell curdles inside Daniel. He slips past them into the corridor. Ahead, a figure races in a motorized wheelchair faster than age should allow. On the lapel, a flash of silver caduceus. Margaret, Daniel calls sounding cracked on both sides. The figure turns. It's her. Her eyes flare for a moment, then dampen as though she's just frightened her own recognition away. Go, she urges, palm flat at his chest. Now! Behind him, his shoulders tense, footsteps follow, ready to snap. They veer down a different corridor, through therapy rooms, along an emergency exit ajar. Cold air gushes like a wet exhale. Rain drips onto his neck. Stairs. Not elevator, Margaret wheezes. They're waiting. In her purse, he returns the guitar case to her arms, seeing he meant to lighten her step. She refuses. Keep the box away from them, she urges. Her fingers brush his hand, a fleeting handshake through centuries. One flight down, the emergency door squeaks open. Night smell greets them, soaked garbage, nylon sacks, spoiled food, city pungency. At the alley's end, a black car idles, engine lights. Smoke puffs from the exhaust as a man leans on the hood, a cigarette glow against his face. Not that way. Margaret whispers, her stare sharpened to surgical precision. Left. They turn into a narrow, damp alley. Moss clings to crumbling bricks, weeds sprout through cracked mortar. Air conditioner drips onto Daniel's neck, teasing cold. Footsteps behind crack louder. Stop, Margaret says, pressing him against an old metal laundry door. She taps 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. A young woman opens quickly, acts as a lifeline. Laundry detergent fumes, damp cloth, and humidity entrap them. A washer hums. A filament of bubbles clings to the glass drum. Sit, she signals. Margaret crumbles into a plastic chair, breathing through her inhaler, eyelids fluttering shut. Daniel stands, holding the case. Outside, steps approach, hesitate, then edges away. He hears heels scraping against wet concrete like a cleaning cloth wiping a pane. Now! Margaret's voice guides him. He reaches into his coat and retrieves the yellowed slip, placing it in her lap. That night, she says, voice fractured ice, each word dropping heavy. I wrote, to remember infant F12. F for fleur, a flower. I drew the moon to find the baby, but I couldn't. She hands the note to Daniel, fragile, crisp, its corner scribble, unmistakable. Daniel's hands tremble. The pencil crescent matches his scar exactly. He breathes sharply. Detergent fumes prickle his eyes. Margaret continues, and the song her eyes lock onto his. I heard the mother sing before she was taken away. Daniel glances at his reflection in the washer glass, his face stretched by spinning water, the box like shattered driftwood in his arms. Who took her? He whispers, voice coated in sand. A bell rings at the front door. The laundrette clerk startles. Margaret grabs Daniel's hand, strength surprising. "Not now," she says softly. "Keep the song. Keep the box, and meet only her." Harrington Daniel catches voice constricted. She nods, tears shimmer. She's the only one who can say what I cannot. A pair of footsteps pass by. A match strikes, tap light flicks. Against the hush and damp cotton, the world narrows. Daniel clutches the guitar more tightly and drips sweat from his brow. Beyond the door, two darker silhouettes drift past, quietly tracking the world as fish slip past glass. His breath freezes, thump, 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 locked in a hollow drum. They vanish. Margaret releases his hand. Breaths, slow, hiss, inhaler, rail. "Go now," she says, frost hitting her words. Before they return. Outside, the rain has stopped. Pavement exhales the smell of warmed tar dust and late afternoon sun. Daniel steps onto the cracked stairway of the subway entrance. The box presses against his ribs, a dull ache blooming. Train rumble brings thunder. Unlike before, he feels the lullaby not from music box or guitar, but from deep behind his sternum where Margaret's words landed. He halts mid-step, pressed against the steel railing, the canyoned hum of the station swirling. His gaze falls on the faded cease and desist letter in his hand, smoke-stained edges from sweat. He reads and glances up at the guitar box again. Breath slows. A drop of condensation from the stair above lands on his knuckles, ice cold. He cups the guitar box closer and whispers to himself, each word a hollow drum in the night air. Why are they so afraid of a song? Morning drapes, New York in pale gold, like a coat of primer paint. Sunlight streams through the penthouse's gridded windows, painting perfect rectangles of light on the hardwood floors. Within the hush of the 73rd floor, a fountain pen taps steadily on the glass tabletop. Tap, tap, tap. Evelyn sits upright, her slender fingers gripping the receiver. On the other end, a man's voice is low, dry like sandpaper. "Understood. What are your requirements?" Quiet. Fast. No trace. She pauses, her gaze fixed on the silver music box nestled at the center of the table, its engraved script. "Sleep, little sea." Flashing through the light, wounding her eyes with its intimacy. "I need 3 things: hospital records from 1993, a birth certificate for someone named Daniel Cole, and anything pertaining to a music box inscribed with this phrase." "Budget?" the voice asks sharply. "No limit." Evelyn's words leave her lips easily, 2 words she has seldom uttered in her life. Back in the small Queens apartment, morning begins with strong coffee and the wheeze of an inhaler. Daniel pours milk for his mother, using her chipped cup to avoid cutting her lip. The medicine's bitterness lingers on the tongue, while a hint of fresh basil on the windowsill drifts into the air. "I'll be back before noon," he reassures her, smoothing the covering and brushing over the paper-thin protrusion of her collarbone. She nods, tears glistening in her eyes. "Don't oversing," she whispers, her voice a frail echo of familiarity. "Save your voice." He kisses the top of her sparse hair. "I'm not singing," he replies. "I'm searching." A Swiss-timed detective arrives, no sound from his slick leather shoes crossing the plush carpet. His cologne is faint, mingling with the must of old paper as he sets a leather-bound dossier on the glass table. Evelyn doesn't offer him tea. She only watches the numbered lock on the case as if it were a keyhole to another world. 3 days, he says. But some things aren't buried in soft ground. "Show me the things hiding in stone," she replies. He opens the case. Sheets of different textures, hospital forms. Rough government documents, stiff notarized copies slide together. With a tiny staple like an insect pin, he secures the corners. Clue 1, 1993 medical records. A raised seal from Roosevelt Medical Center sits on a translucent hospital folder, its blue ink fading to gray. Beside it, a scarlet stamp, sealed. He hands her a sheet petition to unseal, denied by court. Reason privacy of adoption records. Evelyn's fingertip touches the word, sealed. The paper is cool, suspended in a freeze that edges up her wrist like a sliver of glass. "I paid to seal this," she whispers, "and now it locks me out." He's silent. Clue 2. Daniel Cole's birth certificate. He holds out a faded yellow copy, edges folded from age. Mother Sarah Cole. Father blank. Last known address, Roosevelt Medical Center, Upper East Side. The old ink smells pungent, making her nose tingle. He taps the address line. Same street where you once lived. Evelyn's pulse stutters. A thin sheen of sweat blooms at her neck, chilling her. And clue 3. Her lips dry as paper. From the case, he produces a blurry photograph, the silver music box, its lid etched with the same phrase in the same font by the same hand. I snapped this at his apartment. Same engraving, same handwriting. It can't be the same hand, she breathes. This inscription, it's mine. She touches the edge of the box before her. A thin metallic ting rings out off the glass. Perhaps someone duplicated via mold, he suggests, or a workshop. But engraving that phrase becomes dangerous. Outside, a helicopter hums overhead. The window vibrates a pulsing resonance like a building's heartbeat. Evelyn gazes into the sky slashed by towers. I want to confront him, she says, not naming him names way too much in rooms like this. Dangerous, the detective warns. Some people won't let you approach. She smiles, tight, silent. I've been down there, she says, and I'm still breathing. Daniel begins with the scent of old paper. At the public library, dust lingers over long wood tables with cracking corners. The air smells of starch and old leather stale sweat baked into chairs. Fluorescent lights flicker across his eyelids. He orders the microfilm of old newspapers. Headlines from 1993 flick past backward scandal at Mayor Speaks. Hospital opens NICU. He freezes on an image, an empty black and white corridor in the hospital, a nurse's silhouette blurred mid-step. The caption, Roosevelt Medical Center opens new NICU wing. He photographs it screen flush warm, another grain to fit into place. Next, at the Records Bureau, icy air plastic chairs, antiseptic cleaner scent reminiscent of synthetic lemon. He fills the form, mother name Sarah Cole, and writes, Father blank. The woman behind the glass looks at him like she's used to quiet heartbreak. Request for father's name, she asks. Blank, he says the word, escaping unbidden, etched deeper than any error. She presses a copy through the slit. The replicated paper is thin, one corner smudged with moisture. Perhaps a tear, perhaps old coffee. The birthplace line hits him like a blow. Roosevelt Medical Center, 1993. Folding the paper makes a crisp whisper across his fingers. Another shard. Late afternoon, he stands before an antique store on a quiet street. A glass wind chime, tinkling scent of beeswax and tarnished metal in the air. Rows of music boxes rest on shelves. The aged owner peers through a loop, black smudged knuckles falling on faded wood. What are you after? Daniel shows him the image. The owner's eyes snap to focus. Early 90s craft Brooklyn workshop, custom hand-carved. That phrase, uncommon. Have you seen that phrase before? Daniel asks, heart-knocking. Once. The owner pulls a leather journal, yellowed pages, ink fading. He flips at the pages. Stops. Nails tap on one entry. 1993. Client EH, order 2 units. Engraving Sleep Little C. A margin dot like a needle prick marks it. I recall because the note said italic feminine script. A wealthy client still asking for handwriting. That's rare. Daniel feels heat rise to his neck. He swallows. EH. He breathes. The shopkeeper shrugs. I sold it. They paid. My memory only keeps the smell of lath and initials. He inhales softly. Haven't smelled rain like today in years. Daniel thanks him and steps outside, late breeze tasting of salt metal. He grips his guitar case tighter. His left hand aches along the sinews, and the faint crescent scar glimmers under street lamp. A current shivers through his spine, a flash of the moonmark Margaret's phrase echoing again. Penthouse again. The detective places another envelope. A credible independent witness, he says. She overlaps 2 realms, 1993 hospital and present-day nursing home. A nurse, Evelyn whispers. Margaret Doyle. The detective nods. Old NICU night shift log from August 1993, handwritten schedule, small moon mark in the corner. He places a scanned copy on the table, pale ink on slack paper. Evelyn scans the trembled script. A bead of cold sweat drips from her temple. Maybe it's just her, the detective offers. But it matches young Daniel's wrist. Do you want to hear from her in person? Evelyn presses the music box into her purse, its metal cold against her sternum. Take me to her. Nursing home smells of thyme boiling, slow disinfectant, watery soup newsprint. Neon light turns skin waxen. A clock clicks faster than a pensioner's heart. Evelyn steps slowly across vinyl floor, adjusting her scarf, breathing in the clean laundry scent faintly sweet. Room 214. Door cracked. Inside, Margaret sits forward, palms lying on knees as if holding invisible tension. Her eyes, fossiled stones, brighten with rare warmth when she sees Evelyn. She sets down her inhaler, pressing fingertips to her caduceus pin in a gesture of resolve. "You came!" Margaret croaks, voice crackling like dry leaves. "They'll arrive soon. But first..." She offers her hand. Skin like fragile parchment, chill and strong. Their hands meet, two metals cooling against each other, a tiny tick reverberation through bone. That night, Margaret starts, voice distant as rainfall in another era. The power flickered. NICU silent like a chapel. I was on shift. F-wing. A young woman. No name, no admission form. Private. A man in a suit with cologne like whiskey whispered with the head nurse. They said I shouldn't log it, but I wrote it. In my heart. You saw. Her voice cracks. The baby. First, I heard her lullaby. A faint glow crosses her eyes. Not in books, no twinkle, no lull. A melody about the sea, keeping a name. I stood at the door. I watched the mother press her lips to that baby's wrist, just there. She lifts her own wrist, thin, delicate. A moon mark. She touches it. At that moment, it wasn't a scar, just a red prick of needle. Evelyn tastes copper. And then she asks softly. They carried her away, Margaret says. The suited man held her. The other nurse with the clipboard wouldn't look at me when I asked, "What's her name?" I drew that crescent on the shift log to find her later. She tilts her head, hearing again the night's rain on glass. They told me never to speak of it. A cold current drifts over Evelyn's neck. She lifts out the music box. Neon light skitters across the silver message recut by memory. She presses the lid. Click. The lullaby plays tiny notes flicking through the quiet like dust on tin roofs. Margaret's eyes go wide alive. That melody she whispers, voice brittle with reverence. It's the same one. Outside, the laundry cart wheels click on the vinyl like a metronome. And the box's notes drum faint echoes in the air. There's another... Evelyn's voice is a breath directed at metal. In his apartment. Same phrase. Same... hand, his mother Margaret says. The same night. She places her trembling finger on C. I remember the talc smell on that baby's skin. The mother's breath rushing. Then still. Then rushing again. The night's breeze metal and damp. I remember the echo of those footsteps down the tile hallway, heavy, trying to pass as light. Evelyn closes her eyes. The scent of disinfectant mingles with tarnished silver, spinning her stomach. Do you know the mother's name? I asked. They wouldn't say. She was called E. Margaret shrugs amidst a sound like old wood creaking. Maybe Evelyn. Emma. E. She looks at the music box. That script. That is more than handwriting. It's living. A door creaks. A silhouette falls into the room, scented with new paper and subdued perfume. She steps in, a nursing home administrator in gray with a floral pin. I'm sorry, she says, sugar thin. Visiting hours are over. Mrs. Doyle needs rest. Evelyn draws out a breath. 3 more minutes, she says, voice like a cold edge. The woman bites her lip, but doesn't cross the threshold. Perfume, jasmine, and citrus cuts sharply against the antiseptic. Evelyn turns back. She places the music box into Margaret's hands. You hold it, she says, for just a minute. Margaret pushes it back. It's yours, she says. I have memories. That's enough. From a drawer, Margaret retrieves the cloth-wrapped slip. "This is the original," she says, handing it to Evelyn. "I kept it 30 years. I drew the crescent so I'd never forget." Evelyn clamps the fragile paper between her fingers, warm because of Margaret's touch. In the corner, the faint crescent is the same as on Daniel's wrist. Heart in syncopated pulse against the silver box, thump-thump like distant knocking. Daniel, Evelyn says aloud for the first time in this room. He has that same mark. Margaret's eyes glisten. "I know," she whispers. "He will need to hear it from you." Evelyn stands, chair whispers across the floorboards. A small wave of vertigo, a cloud passing in front of the sun. She rests a hand on Margaret's shoulder, gentle pressure bone beneath wool. "Thank you," she whispers, each word fragile as a string. Footsteps come closer. Evelyn tucks the music box in her purse, its weight pulling her fingers down a notch. She turns to step out. In her final moment at the door, she hears Margaret's voice again, gentle but anchored. "They told me never to speak, but she was your baby." The mirrored elevator of Harrington Tower shoots upward like a needle piercing the night sky. Its cold LED lights reflect three superimposed faces, Evelyn in her spare black dress, her stare a blade cloaked in velvet, Daniel clutching his worn guitar box, evening dampness still on his shoulders, a mix of old wood and dried rain in the air, and Margaret shawled in dark wool chest, heaving softly, her inhaler cold and metallic in her hand. The doors open. The air conditioning's breath carries the rich scent of leather seats and oaken wood, a fragrance distilled wealth. The boardroom is a glass box suspended in the sky. Outside, the city sprawls like a lit circuit board, vehicles pulsing through its pathways like electric currents. Inside, a solid oak table gleams, reflecting the pallor beneath weary eyes. On the table, a crystal pitcher of water beaded with condensation. A cold cup of black coffee with a faint scorch of spent grounds. A silver tray of pens, sharp, impersonal. Charles stands at the head of the table. Light slants through the glass, outlining his shoulders in thin brilliance. His charcoal tie is impeccable, his white shirt uncreased, and his cologne dry and expensive. A lawyer from Crawford and Ames sits to his right, thin-lensed, neat paperwork at hand. To his left, the PR chief, hair and a tight knot, red lips, phone face down. Silence from the guards stands hard as walls. Evelyn enters first. Her heels lose voice on the plush carpet the moment they strike. Without invitation, she sits in the chair directly across from Charles. The leather's cold press touches her spine. Behind her, Daniel stands, box braced against his thigh, the wood pressing into his flesh. Margaret holds the armrest, the bones of her fingers jutting out, nails trimmed tight. The air hums around them, air conditioner cycling like a distant, emotionless tide. "Let's begin," Charles says, cutting ceremony. His voice is level like the table itself, though his collar strains inward with too rapid breath. "Evelyn, you brought an outsider into this boardroom, an error." "She's not an outsider," Evelyn replies. Her voice is thin as monofilament but resilient. She places her purse down and draws out the silver music box, the metallic click against glass, sharp. "This is a voice you paid to silence." The lawyer leans forward, primed. "Before proceeding further, let me remind you that—" "Sit down." Evelyn's two words land like glass marbles onto the table. The lawyer gulps. Even the faint mint scent seems to ebb. She unlatches her box. Click. The melody unfurls, mechanical whispers of memory and frost, a lullaby crystalline. Each note a cold drop into a memory basin. Daniel unlatches his own guitar box. From inside, he removes another music box, dulled, silver-scratched edges, the same inscription. "Sleep, little sea. The tide will keep your name." He places it side by side with Evelyn's. In that mirrored light, they form a sliver of white. He turns the winding key click, and that lullaby begins too. The two miniature movements whir in reverse, the songs layering with ruthless precision, always in sync. For a heartbeat, nothing disrupts the resonance, not even the faintest murmur. The coffee's stale aroma grows heavy, steeped in decades. Evelyn opens both lids, sliding the boxes toward Charles. "Both," she says. Same phrase, same hand, same year. E.H. She lays an old photocopy onto the table, the craftsman's notation in trembling print 1993. Client E.H. order 2 units engraving. The printed letters vibrate subtly beneath that overhead lamp. The PR advisor leans toward the lawyer, whispering. The lawyer shifts accordingly. Charles does not look down. He looks at Evelyn. Light etches a thin line across her cheek. Coincidence, he says. Workshops like money, like all people. You know that. A soft cough fractures the air. Margaret takes an imperceptible step forward, fingertips off the armrest. The scent of her antiseptic wool pushes back the opulence of leather. Not coincidence. Her voice quavers but stays clear. That night I was on F-Wing. The lawyer leans and is silenced. Who are you? He asks. Margaret Doyle. NICU night nurse, August 1993. She produces the yellowed schedule slip, its corner curled. The lawyer accepts it like a legal flame. A pale ink moon mark rests quietly in the corner. That night. I heard it, Margaret indicates the music box. I saw the mother kiss her child's wrist. There. The moon mark, the red prick of a needle. I drew it so I'd remember. Her words drop like anchors into the sunned oak table. Speak nonsense, the lawyer retorts. Old memory has no weight in court. But the smell, Margaret replies, gaze fixed on Charles. Talc. Diaper. The man's cologne whiskey wet. I haven't forgotten. Charles's throat moves a stone passing. He glances to his lawyer. Enough. He dismisses the lawyer's outstretched script. I did what had to be done to keep control. Evelyn leans on the table, her nails rasp against polished wood. What term do you still cling to as coincidence? She pushes one box forward. The tune coils into the room like a memory stored in air. Outside, city lights blink. Charles breathes in, then out slowly. You don't know her, he says softly. You know paper, law. You let emotion in. Daniel interrupts, voice thin with tremor. Then, he pulls his sleeve up. The moon-marked scar glints under the stark light. Silence in the room leans toward that faded arc as if magnetized. Margaret steps closer, her hand palpable yet distant. Exact spot, she whispers. IV line sight. That baby. Her throat closes. They marked it. Daniel lowers his arm. The empty ache of that scar echoes through him, thump, thump, thump. The air stills. The lawyer tries a rebuttal about medical commonality, but Margaret meets him with clarity. No one draws a moon mark on a shift slip except to remember. Evelyn seats herself with straight posture, eyes sharpened. You stole my daughter from me, she says. Not raised, but unstoppable. Each word splashes across their glass cage like frozen stones. She leans deeper talons, etching grooves into the wood. You buried her life for your empire. The world shatters. The PR advisor's knuckles blanch as he warily touches paperwork. A ripple courses across the picture's surface. Charles blinks for the first time all day. Sweat beads at his hairline. He reaches for the cold coffee. Bitterness puffs across his face as if flavored with regret. The hum of cooling air seems louder, stripped raw. Evelyn. Charles collects himself, placing the cup down. The china crackles quietly. I was protecting you. He presses against the dossiers, fingernails pressed to edge like armor. I guided through a crisis. Duty. Our family. What family would sacrifice its child? Evelyn fires back. If it was a crisis, why follow me with silence for 30 years? Charles looks out the window. The city's flames reflected in his eyes like unspoken headlines. His breath tastes stale with coffee grounds. I had papers, a foundation. I had people. He turns to Margaret. They forget their duty sometimes. Margaret holds steady. She grips her caduceus. My duty was to keep a life, not hide the horror. A legal murmur creeps in. Charles waves away the interference. Enough, he says. He places his elbows on the table, palms clutched together. His voice creaks with age. You want the truth? Here it is. That night I received a call, A private donation. A child. A secret too heavy for the press. His voice breaks. I kept your name out of tabloids. I kept the business from collapsing. I kept your mother from the shock. I did what needed doing. Evelyn's laugh has no warmth. It carves a crease across her face. You kept me from my own child, she says. You buried her like a loss in a balance sheet. Daniel watches his fingertips bleeding under the grip on his box. The richness of leather and paper and faint sweat, the smells swirl nauseatingly. He can't place himself in this ledger, yet he stands at the margins, a ghosted line waiting to be accounted for. What about me, he says, voice suddenly firm and hollow. If that lullaby was the tether, if the scar is the anchor, then a labored swallow, bad copper taste. Hand slick on box. Air conditioner hum thins. The music box finishes a cycle tick thin as a period. Daniel swallows, lower jaw jerking. Then, who am I really? News shattered like glass. The next morning, LED street displays bled with white letters, Harrington under fire. In the newsroom, the scent of hot plastic from studio lights mingled with hairspray. Printed newspapers carried the pungent odor of fresh ink headlines, calling out ethics cover-up sealed records in cold, deliberate columns. Inside the Harrington Tower elevator, people whispered like wind through door gaps, avoiding each other's gaze. On the top floor, the board of directors gathered around an oak table that had heard thousands of decisions, the heavy air smelling of leather and stale black coffee. Charles signed one final letter in smooth pen strokes on thick paper, resigning for the good of the company. The pen's click as the cap snapped shut echoed like the last note of power. Outside the building, Evelyn released her shoulders. She stood for a long moment beneath the midday sun, breathing in the city's exhale, the wail of car horns, the scent of gasoline, roasted chestnuts, and wind flapping the edge of her coat. Microphones reached toward her like thorns. Any comment, ma'am? Is it true? She shook her head, saying nothing. In her purse, the silver music box rested against her sternum, cool like a second heartbeat keeping time. She did not return to the penthouse. The car turned onto the Queensboro Bridge, wind salty as river spray. The old neighborhood greeted her with fried onion grease, damp paper, cheap soap scents she never noticed when she lived on the other side of the city. On the third floor, in a narrow hallway lit by flickering yellow bulbs, Daniel opened the door. The aroma of warm soup escaped, a comforting fragrance laced with the faint bitterness of medicine. Daniel froze momentarily, his hand reflexively pulling his sleeve over the crescent scar on his wrist, until he let it slip under yellow light like an old moon that never goes out. Sarah, a thin woman with silver hair, sat on a chair, a blanket around her waist, inhaler poised next to her. Her eyes widened when she saw Evelyn. Her breath came in short bursts, the metallic scent of the inhaler lingering in the air. Daniel leaned in and said, "Mom, this is her." Evelyn walked softly, her heel making a gentle clack on the old wood floor. She paused a handspan from the bed, took a breath deep enough to taste soft detergent on the sheets, clean dry hair, and the shampoo of someone who has always done for others. She extended her hand and softly said, her voice trembling like a metal string, "Hello, my name is Evelyn." The woman nodded. Her voice was hoarse but warm. "I'm Sarah." Their fingertips met a hot touch against a cool one, bridging two halves of a shared lifetime. There was no speech, only a slow inhale and exhale synchronized. Evelyn turned to Daniel, gentle command in her words. "Let's move in first. I'll take care of the paperwork." 3 days later, a new apartment revealed itself behind clean glass doors, small yet sunlit, with a window overlooking a park to the left, where maple trees swayed, reeking of fresh wood and paint, not yet dry. A medical-grade bed, firm supportive, rolled silently on soft floor casters, placed so morning light would bathe Sarah's shoulders. A top respiratory doctor had cleared the schedule. The hospital delivered a pristine, plastic-scented nebulizer. A half-shift nurse arrived quietly in soft-soled shoes. Margaret appeared with a handful of daisies, the scent fresh as early rain. She stood by the window, her hand on her caduceus pin, her breath steady as Daniel strummed a few guitar notes to test the room's acoustics, wood and metal reverberating through white walls, then fading gently.
"Thank you,"
Sarah said to Evelyn. Her face lit by golden daylight paused mid-glow.
"I taught him that lullaby,"
she said slowly, her gaze drifting across the vapor from the nebulizer, "because someone once sang it to me." I don't remember her face, only the words. Evelyn set her music box on the small wooden table and wound the key. Click. The lullaby flowed. Daniel placed his box alongside hers and turned its key. Click. Two melodies interwove like two hands perfectly clasping. Tiny pinwheels of gears meshed with old oil and fresh blending scents. Sarah closed her eyes, a single salty tear rolling down the fine crease of her cheek. Margaret leaned against the window, placing a hand over her heart, feeling its pulse fluidly align with the lullaby. That afternoon, Evelyn took Daniel to secure new health insurance while also opening a medical fund for Sarah. The bank smelled of fresh carpet and sweet unfinished registration forms. Numbers glowed like cool stones tumbling in a stream. "This isn't charity," Evelyn stated plainly, eyeing Daniel when he tried to speak. "It's justice." He nodded. "We'll call it the Sea Fund," he said softly. "So, the tide keeps a name." She looked up, tears blurring her vision, her first cry since the balcony night, but not one of grief. Days passed with rhythm restored. Mornings brought filtered sunlight and the aroma of fresh coffee, toasted bread, and medicine. Doctor visits came with stethoscopes on warm skin pen on paper. The nebulizer buzzed like a steady gray lull. Daniel quietly strummed chords wood singing under his fingers. Evenings, Evelyn wheeled Sarah through the park, rustling leaves underfoot, the scent of wet earth. A street clarinetist played nearby notes bouncing like sugary raindrops. Evelyn leaned in and whispered, "I'm sorry." Sarah met her gaze. "I know." No more words were needed. A rainy evening found Daniel returning from a 3-hour set at a small cafe espresso breath on his clothes guitar string, marks on his left-hand fingers, the crescent scar aglow like a cool ember. Evelyn brought him a bowl of soup. The steam warmed the butter and onion aroma in the kitchen. Daniel reached for it and gently brushed his finger across Evelyn's wrist scar. She took his hand and placed her fingertip on the scar no longer hidden. "Don't be afraid," she whispered softly. "That mark is to remember." He nodded, his voice caught. "Mom." His throat landed like a wind-edged lung. "Can I call you Grandma?" The word floated small but heavy, dropping into the warm, wood-scented kitchen like a jewel falling plop, its ripples stretching for breath. Evelyn didn't speak. She hugged him tightly. The mixed scents of rain, coffee, buttery soup, and silver against her neck fused into a new aroma, the smell of home. Sarah watched her hand trembling lightly on the aide's arm. Margaret turned away, dabbing her eyes with a clean cloth, the fresh-washed laundry scent rising. A car passed outside with tires whispering on wet pavement, the soundtrack of a city unaware that a small world had shifted its orbit. On the day of Charles's departure, a photograph captured him in the marble lobby. His shirt collar undone, tie loosened, clutching a wooden keepsake box. He looked down at the floor, its veins frozen like trapped waves. No cheers, no thrown eggs, just the wheel of suitcases and a soft automatic beep of doors closing. His face stared from newspapers by afternoon, standing beside the bold headline, "Accountability." Evelyn folded the paper and tucked it into an unlocked drawer. There was no celebration, only the steady rhythm of Sarah's now calmer breathing. One pale afternoon, Daniel returned with a blank CD unstamped. On it, a recording from the cafe, a lullaby reimagined with guitar and cello, warm as a hand on a chest during panic. They played it from an old CD player, the scent of warmed plastic curled in the room. Evelyn set the 2 music boxes on the table. Today, she said, we completed. Counted 1, 2, 3. She turned one winding key, then the other. The two spindles whirred one clockwise, the other counter. Tiny gears clicked in harmonious lockstep, the melody flowing as one uninterrupted stream. Midway, the cello entered, drawing out a low, sustaining note that made the table hum. The music boxes answered with metallic tones like falling stars. Margaret sat near the window light, accentuating the fine hairs on her cheek, glowing like flecks of gold. She retrieved a slim old envelope from her coat pocket and handed it to Evelyn. The affidavit, she said, tones steady as a stitched seam. Endorsed, signed, no takebacks. The red seal was fresh as blood. The smell of new ink colliding with old paper was strange and right, both beginning and age-long. Evelyn slipped the document into a clear plastic sleeve, her hand shaking but exact. She didn't kiss or embrace Margaret. Instead, she lightly pressed her fingertips against Margaret's hand, cool, delicate. "Thank you," she murmured. The words stretched to the length of a single breath. Outside, the city dimmed. Raindrops lingered on window ledges, forming quiet jewels. Daniel sat by Sarah's bedside. The nebulizer was silent. Only the faint pop and crackle of wood settling after a damp day, its soft rhythm. He strummed a gentle refrain. Sarah opened her eyes and smiled. "Go to sleep," she whispered, "so you can sing tomorrow." Evelyn stood quiet in the doorway, music boxes in hand, leaning against the wooden frame. The bedside lamp cast a thin golden halo around her. The next morning, Daniel led Evelyn through the neighborhood market, ripe tomato scent, apples, pastry sugar, the clink of coins like raindrops. Evelyn chose a bouquet of white tulips, fresh green fragrance like early season water, and placed them in a vase by the window. As sunlight fractured through petals, each became a glowing sheet of vellum. At midday, an unfamiliar number lit Evelyn's phone. An elderly woman's voice, thin as a thread but durable, entered through Mrs. Evelyn. "This is Peterson." The room seemed to thin. Evelyn looked at the music boxes on the table gears, at rest oil settled. She inhaled, tasting the new wood scent of the room soap on a wet cloth, the cool silver of the boxes, and Daniel's brewing coffee. Then, with each syllable placed as precisely as a photograph, "Then we need to talk. Night drapes over the city like thick velvet. Beyond the glass towers blaze with light. Neon beams sweep violet and blue streaks across thin clouds. Yet inside the Queen's apartment, the glow is different. A gentle golden pool from a desk lamp, warmth spreading along the whitewashed walls. The air carries the scent of lingering chicken soup, guitar wood sweating under calloused hands, and the cool scent of silver from two music boxes nestled side by side. These everyday aromas contrast starkly with the sterile scent of marble-polished oak and expensive cologne in a boardroom atop the 73rd floor. Evelyn places the music boxes together. Scratches on their silver surfaces catch the lamp's glow, glinting like bright scars. She winds one. Click. The music begins. Daniel tilts his head and turns the second box. The two melodies merge keys, clicking in exact harmony. Their stubborn metallic trill resonates steadily through the quiet room like a double heartbeat of two generations rediscovered. Sarah rests her head on the pillow, eyes closed, lips silently mouthing the lullaby. Outside, a bus sighs down the street. A horn echoes in the distance, background noise yielding to the music threading through their veins. Margaret sits by the window, her hand resting on the silver caduceus. She observes the warm glow cast on the three of them, a grandmother, a mother, and a child. On Daniel's wrist, the crescent scar peeks through his rolled sleeve, illuminated in a thin beam, proof that some truths sealed for 30 years emerge in the smallest of details. Evelyn opens her eyes and looks at Daniel. Her voice, low yet resonant, fills the room. Money can build empires, but a small lullaby can preserve a mother's love for 30 years. The words land like a drop in a still lake, ripples, expanding, touching each person. Daniel nods, eyes shining in golden light. Sarah squeezes his hand, breath soft yet certain. Margaret closes her eyes, letting the music flow around her as if a long, silent witness found solace. A slow zoom from the imagined camera drifts from the music boxes to Daniel's face, pausing at his parted lips as he whispers, not quite to anyone, but still audible through the lens. Do you believe a song can hold bloodline? Then he looks straight into the lens, eyes aflame against the night, voice firm and clear. If you were in my place, would you choose truth or safety? The two music boxes crescendo together, then taper off, leaving a fragile hush behind. That hush itself becomes the echo. Screen fades to darkness except for the golden reflection dancing on the scratched silver as a warm yet incisive voiceover emerges. If this story has touched you, leave a comment. Share this video so others can hear that lullaby too. And don't forget to like and subscribe to accompany us in the stories ahead. Finally, the image of Evelyn holding the two music boxes tight to her chest appears. A single tear glides onto the silver, making it shimmer like a star, and the camera cuts caught between a sigh and a note unfinished. Cliffhanger. In the hallway outside, Evelyn's forgotten phone vibrates suddenly. The screen glows Peterson.